In today's video, I'm going to talk about the truth, really, what it is and how it is to work in IT in a non-IT company. Information technology is everywhere. Every industry has the need for IT functions and technology to run their business, really. Working in IT does not necessarily mean that you work at one of the large, big tech companies, but that you work as an information technology professional, and that could be in any industry. Hello and welcome. My name is Christoph Puetz and I'm your IT career guide. Here on this YouTube channel, we talk about careers in information technology and everything that goes with it. And also, if you don't mind, if you can share this video with friends, family, or peers, I would really appreciate it. It helps me to grow this YouTube channel. Thank you so much. When we see reports about high salaries in IT, it can be very misleading. If you work at one of the bigger and well-known tech companies, higher than average salaries are usually part of the game. If you work in the IT department of, let's say, a non-profit or a school, well, your IT salary will be way below average in most cases. So let's talk about really the cold hard truth about working in IT at a non-tech company. Lower salaries in those cases can come from limited business funding, lower cash flow, low profit margins, or simply due to working in an industry where the salaries in general are lower than average. But then there is more. Lower salaries often come from leadership as well. There are still too many business leaders that know everything about their industry and they're really great at navigating that ship and they know all the key partners and everything they need to know about that industry. But they do not see IT really as a key to success. Too often IT is really simply seen as an expense, as a cost, as something expensive that does not provide enough value and that does not contribute to the bottom line really of the business. That mindset is challenging and often impossible to overcome, so really keep that in mind. You can often identify these companies when IT actually reports into the CFO from a budget and reporting structure. The chief financial officer of a company, there it is about money, and the CFO is really the best person to keep the budget lean, to keep the ship running without spending too much money. The next indicator is IT leadership. If the IT leaders in those organizations have really difficulties to make the case for important investments into IT infrastructure, and to invest into improving IT processes, well, you can guess what happens. There's zero innovation. Lifecycle management for hardware and software asset does not exist, other than potentially replacing a system when it is finally dead and the business is at the brink of failure due to this fact. So if you come into those environments, you are dealing with a lot of firefighting, long work hours and weekends and nights, little to no career advancements. The technology that you work with or that you have to support in those places is usually outdated and has seen better days a long time ago. So you may be offered a position higher up. And I put that in quotes really when I say this. So as an example, let's say your manager leaves and they offer you that specific position. It's not necessarily an advancement because in most cases, in those companies, in those environments, you're a gap filler. They just take the next available person and just put him on that place. And yeah, they pretty much know that in a year or two, you will leave as well, just like your predecessor. Sometimes you may even find out that you're not allowed to backfill your own role when you advance into that new role. So it's really difficult for you then to do your job, or you have to do two jobs, your own pre-existing role and the role of the manager in the example that I just brought up. Of course, what I just described does not apply to every non-tech company, of course. You will find any type of variation between what I just described and what you would experience at one of the big tech companies. So what are warning signals that will help you to identify those companies where you really should not work? So look at the job descriptions as an example. Often these companies post job openings with salary information. Let's assume an IT director in a generic industry in your geographical area can expect an average salary in the range of, let's say, $150,000 per year. Now you see a job posting for a senior IT director, but the hiring company posts a salary range of $70,000 to $90,000. You will laugh, but if you go and look, you will find those. It's not random. It happens all the time. So what you really see in those cases is a title, but nothing else. They know they cannot pay more than $70,000 to $90,000. They're looking for somebody mid-level, lower level, whatever, that just keeps the light on. So they elevate the job title to something like senior director. It sounds impressive. Well, and in reality, it is not. The job duties are usually not in line with the title. My advice really is stay away and do not touch. You will be facing burnout, frustration, stagnation, possibly more. And yes, you might have that job title on your resume, but if you then go and apply for other director or senior director level positions, well, the work experience is missing. There's so much more of working at that level compared to what you would be doing at that one place. Another warning sign is the interview process. When you get to meet your potential peers and the manager for the very first time. Does it feel they're really interested in your skill set and your personality, or is it more that they're maybe overworked and any type of help that they could get counts? If the interview process feels too easy, something is probably wrong and your red flags should go up and you should ask more detailed questions. Great companies have really a strong and difficult interview process, and that will be really challenging to survive. You have to go through several rounds of interviews, and it's not necessarily, not even close to easy. So these companies that really have a rigorous job interview process, they pay attention to what it takes to build a high-performing team. People and their personality matter. They want to build a culture where everyone feels like they're going into the same direction. And you can almost tell like at every level that this exists. Also, the word about these companies spreads quickly so that it's a great place to work at. The more challenging and more difficult it is to get into those places, those are usually the places where you want to work. If it's too easy and the job title does not align with the actual tasks, I would say stay away, don't touch. So here's an example out of my own past. Many years ago, I had applied at a well-known company in the financial sector. And later on, they actually offered me the job, but I declined. So what happened really? So the interview were several rounds. It was not easy. It was good. I was almost there, had one final talk with the hiring manager on that day, and it was like after 4 or 5 hours of interviewing. So 90% of the interview had gone great. But then the hiring manager and I sit down and he asked me, how comfortable are you with laying off people? And that question for me, that really killed the deal immediately. It's like, I do not want to work for somebody like that. It's like there were just too many red flags for me, which like, where is that question coming from? And he did not elaborate. So I moved on. I did not start working there. 3 years later, I had a coworker that actually came from that specific company in the financial industry. And I found out that layoffs were a very frequent event at that specific companies. I dodged a bullet. I'm glad that really the alarm bells rang and I decided not to take it. You have to pay attention to the questions and everything and really make sure that it feels like a well-rounded process. Other things to understand when working in IT in a non-tech industry company. So there are opportunities to really acquire a very specialized knowledge, and that can turn you into an asset that can command higher than average salaries. World travels fast in certain industry and markets, so that could be really a small field. And if you build up a great reputation, you may turn yourself into a hot commodity on the job market. Think as an example, regulated industry with certain, let's say, compliance requirements as an example. So they offer roles where you need to have that specialized knowledge, where it's really difficult to obtain it from outside of that specific industry. Or think certain software applications like a complex ERP system as an example. Those require specialized knowledge. Another one is, as an example, experience in manufacturing in the medical or pharmaceutical industry. There's a lot of technology being used. There are rules, compliance requirements and all that stuff. And in those environments, it's like they need the right people that have that knowledge and understanding, because a single mistake can cost millions and millions of dollars. So this can make you really valuable in the job market in a non-tech industry. So to complete the go around really here, if it is your goal to work at one of the big tech companies, go for it. It will not be easy to get in, but it can be really well worth it financially and from a reputation perspective. Having a fan company like Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, maybe even Microsoft listed on your resume, that opens doors in other companies and other industry. These names are like brand names that carry value on your resume, and it can be really invaluable to have those on your resume. But then do not hesitate to go into other industry and companies. There are really great companies in every industry out there. Sometimes you have to search a little bit to find them, but in other cases, it may be really obvious, and that's where you want to go. So know and understand what the red flags are. Look for those, and then hopefully you will avoid working for a bad company, for a bad manager, in a work culture that does really make life miserable. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please do so as well. And if you don't mind sharing this video with friends and peers, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.